Have you ever said yes just to avoid guilt? Not because you wanted to, but because it felt easier than explaining yourself. Because you didn't want to disappoint anyone. Because you've been trained, silently, slowly, to believe that your peace matters less than other people's comfort. She knew that feeling all too well. For years, she had been the dependable one, the helper, the one who never complained, never pushed back, never said no. People praised her for being selfless, but they never noticed how much of herself she was sacrificing just to keep the harmony. But one day, something shifted. She didn't scream, she didn't run, she didn't even raise her voice. She just said no. A quiet, trembling no that broke a pattern she didn't even know she was stuck in. And that small refusal became the beginning of her freedom. Her name was Claire, and for as long as she could remember, she had been the easy one. The one who didn't cause trouble, who smiled through discomfort, who apologized, even when she had nothing to apologize for. Growing up, she learned early that saying yes made people like her. Teachers praised her, friends leaned on her, family depended on her. And over time, she confused being liked with being loved. At work, she stayed late when others went home. At home, she said sure when she wanted to scream no. She was always agreeable, always available. She couldn't remember the last time she did something simply because she wanted to, not because someone else asked, needed, or expected it. Her calendar was full. Her phone never stopped buzzing, but her life, empty of anything that was truly hers. She thought that being kind meant being quiet, that putting others first meant putting herself last. And when the weight of it all started to crush her, she blamed herself. She told herself she wasn't strong enough, not productive enough, not helpful enough, as if her constant exhaustion was a personal flaw, not the result of years of emotional overcommitment. And the truth is, most people around her never questioned it. They admired her generosity. They praised her selflessness. But no one asked how she was doing. No one noticed how tired she looked. Because people get used to your silence, especially when your silence serves them. And that's how she lived for years, quietly breaking under the pressure of being everything to everyone, except herself. Claire's days looked productive from the outside, packed with meetings, tasks, favors, errands. She answered every message, returned every call, helped with everything, smiled through it all. But inside, she was disappearing. Not all at once, just a little more every day. Like someone dimming the lights in a room she used to feel safe in. She woke up early, not because she wanted to, but because her mind wouldn't stop racing. She said yes to tasks at work that weren't hers, then skipped lunch to finish them. She volunteered for things no one asked her to do, then apologized when she couldn't keep up. At home, she did the same, responding instantly, showing up constantly, suppressing every sigh that wanted to escape. Have you ever felt like your entire life is being scheduled around other people's needs? Like your time isn't really yours? That if you stopped being useful, you'd stop being valued altogether? Her smile was polished. Her voice was always soft, but her soul, it was tired. She didn't cry in front of anyone. She didn't complain. But every night, she sat at the edge of her bed, staring at the floor, wondering if this version of life was all she could expect. Just constant giving, constant pleasing, constant emptiness in return. And the worst part wasn't how much she was doing. It was how invisible it all felt. No one thanked her. No one saw her boundaries being crossed. No one asked if she was okay. Because when you're always the one who says yes, people forget you even have limits. And deep down, maybe she did too. It didn't happen during a dramatic confrontation. There was no shouting, no tears, no ultimatums. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon. Her coworker, as always, dropped another urgent task on her desk. One that wasn't hers. One that would keep her there, long after hours. He smiled like he always did, assuming she'd say yes. And for a moment, she almost did. But something inside her, something small, but finally awake, whispered, "Not this time." She looked at the file, then at him, and without raising her voice, without faking a smile, she simply said, "I can't take this on right now." No long explanation, no apology, just a boundary. Have you ever said no and felt the silence afterward hit harder than the word itself? That pause when the other person blinks, confused. Because you've always been the one who bends? He stared at her for a moment, almost surprised. Then, without a fight, he picked up the folder and walked away. That was it. Nothing exploded. The sky didn't fall. No one stormed out. But something inside Claire shifted, like a door creaked open that had been bolted shut for years. She sat there afterward, heart pounding, hands trembling slightly. Not because she had done something wrong, but because she had finally done something right for herself. That no wasn't just about one task. It was about all the years she had ignored her own voice. And in that tiny moment, she finally heard herself again. And from that day forward, she would never forget what her no sounded like. The high of that moment didn't last forever. After the first no, Claire felt it, that lingering fear, the second guessing. What if they think I'm lazy, selfish? What if I let someone down? These thoughts didn't come from others. They came from inside her. Because for so long, being useful had been her identity. Without it, she felt exposed. And yet, something had shifted. That discomfort, it didn't scare her away. It made her curious. She started noticing how many yeses she still gave out of habit. How often she prioritized comfort for others and chaos for herself. And each time she paused, each time she questioned herself, she heard that same quiet whisper again, "Not this time." At first, it felt lonely. People noticed she was changing. Some didn't understand. A few even pulled away. But Claire learned something powerful. That when you stop overgiving, you also stop over-explaining. She didn't owe anyone a reason for protecting her energy. And the people who truly respected her stayed. Have you ever felt guilt just for honoring your own limits? For turning your phone off? For saying, "I'm not available right now"? That guilt isn't truth. It's just a habit. And Claire was finally unlearning it. Day by day, her voice grew steadier. Her boundaries became clearer. She didn't need everyone to approve. She just needed to keep choosing herself, even when it felt uncomfortable. Because hidden in that discomfort was the freedom she never thought she was allowed to have. Claire's life didn't suddenly become a fairy tale. She didn't quit her job and travel the world. She didn't cut everyone out or reinvent herself overnight. What she did was much quieter and much more powerful. She started choosing where her energy went. And little by little, that changed everything. She began her mornings differently. No more rushing to check messages before even brushing her teeth. Now, she started with stillness. Sometimes just 5 minutes of silence with her coffee. Sometimes a short walk. She deleted apps that kept her reactive. She stopped answering texts the second they arrived. That one decision alone, to slow down, gave her back hours of her life each week. At work, she no longer raised her hand for every task. She helped when she could, but she stopped overextending. She let others take responsibility for what was theirs. And guess what? The world didn't fall apart. In fact, her respect grew. People began to notice that when Claire said yes, it actually meant something, because now it was intentional. She wasn't available all the time, and that made her presence more valuable. In her personal life, she stopped attending things that drained her. She said no to events she didn't want to be at, to conversations that felt like performances, to people who only reached out when they needed something. And instead of filling that space with guilt, she filled it with herself. Reading, rest, movement, time with people who made her feel seen, not used. She gave herself what she had given others for so long: attention. And if you're watching this and thinking, "I want that, but I don't know where to start," here's the truth. Start small. You don't need a dramatic exit. You need one honest no. You need 5 quiet minutes in the morning just for you. You need to pause before you say yes and ask yourself, am I doing this from love or from fear? Because when you begin to honor your time, your space, your voice, the world around you begins to shift in response. Maybe it's time to look at all the places where your yes has become a quiet cry for help, where your people-pleasing has turned into self-abandonment. The truth is, you don't need to be louder. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You just need to pause and remember that your peace is reason enough. So, give yourself permission to start small. Set one boundary. Say one honest no. Create one pocket of stillness in your day. You're allowed to take up space in your own life. You're allowed to make choices that protect your energy, even if no one claps for you. And if this story lit something inside you, there's another one you need to hear. On the left side of your screen, you'll find the story of a woman who spent her entire life doing what was expected, until one moment changed everything. She stopped living for others and finally chose herself. Watch it now. Your transformation might begin with hers.